Good morning, Wes. Wes Peck is the principal geologist at the Energy Environmental Research Center in Grand Forks. He's a born and raised North Dakotan from Williston and has been at EERC for a number of years. And Wes, you are the manager of the CarbonSAFE program, and this is a program that is extremely exciting. We're talking about North Dakota lignite coal being sequestered into the ground around some of our lignite-fired power plants, and there's also something going on with Red Trail ethanol out in Richardson. So, why don't you describe to us what the CarbonSAFE program goals are, and how long you've been working on this, and then what's your big steps going on here this month?
The CarbonSAFE program that we competitively awarded from the Department of Energy started in the summer, this last summer. And one of our major goals is to determine the feasibility of storing captured CO2 from North Dakota's power plants, their lignite-fired power plants, into the deep subsurface. So as part of that project, we need to know more about the subsurface here in the Mercer and Oliver County region. And so we are drilling 2 test holes to extract some cores of rock from about a mile down to study that rock to find out how amenable it would be to put CO2 into it if that were to become a case of necessity, a business case that the North Dakota power companies and lignite companies would want to pursue. So right now, there's a rig being set up 2 miles north of Golden Valley. We start drilling tomorrow, and we're excited to see this project up and going. In January, we're going to move the rig over to 2 miles south of center North Dakota and repeat the process and get some more information from that region.
Got a great text log going on here with Todd, who was interested in about outside the thermally mature Bakken areas, and he's asking, are the wells being drilled by Center and Golden Valley? Are you going to log those wells and look for other hydrocarbon shows, as you know?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we're going to run as many logs as we can afford to run up and down that hole. Since we are going, it's a big information gathering operation, so we'll certainly be running logs through that 6,000 feet deep. We're in an area that had exploration back in the late 80s and early 90s. So there are some dry holes in the area that some folks had optimistic hopes of finding some hydrocarbons, but we're not expecting to find any, but if they're there, we'll find it through our logging process.
So as a geologist, give us a little picture of how far you're going to be going down, into what zone, and that nearest producing well, I believe there are some producing Bakken wells on the very western edge of Mercer County. But,
yes, you got to go to far western edge of Mercer, you pick up the Bakken activity. The stuff that was explored for back in the 80s and 90s would have been more Mission Canyon type targets. We're going to go down, like I say, about 6,000 feet. There's a formation down there called the Broome Creek Formation. In some parts of western North Dakota, it's used for saltwater disposal. Not in this region, although the Antelope Valley Power Plant, the DGC guys just down the road here, do use it for some wastewater disposal. It's about a 300-foot piece of sandstone that extends across most of southwestern North Dakota, has some really good properties for putting materials in, like wastewater from the power plant, or in our case, if it works out, CO2 that's captured from a power plant. So we're going to drill down and core out the entire thickness of the formation so we can understand how uniform or ununiform it is in its nature and determine its ability to accept injected fluids. So down to the Broome Creek, also known as the Minnelusa for folks who work in the Wyoming and in North Dakota areas. When you get down to the center North Dakota area, there's even fewer offset older wells to use as a guide, but there are a few down in that area too.
Our guest is Wes Peck from the EERC, and he's talking about the CarbonSAFE Project, in which they're going to be drilling 2 wells. These wells are, I assume, permitted by the North Dakota Industrial Commission, just like any oil well would be permitted. Wes, is that accurate?
Yep, exactly the same permit system all the way through. We had a hearing in front of the Industrial Commission for them to approve of our wells. All the as much as possible, all the resources as far as vendors and contractors are all local. So we really like that, working through from Grand Forks and across the state to keep the business in the state as much as possible. And so we have businesses right here in Beulah that are providing the fuel and other support infrastructure coming from domestic companies right here in the state. So yeah, all the appropriate bells and whistles and have been adjusted, and all the I's have been dotted and T's have been crossed for our wells.
Wes, one of the things that we're going to be working on over the next year and focusing on at our Williston Basin Conference is really all those other targets that we're discussing here outside of the Bakken. We've been producing oil for 70-plus years in this state, and really not until the last decade were we producing much of anything from the Bakken. So there are a lot of other zones out throughout the entire Williston Basin. The Bakken, of course, is at about 10,000 feet, but we've had Madison, Red River. I believe there are somewhere around 12 or 14 different zones that we really haven't gone back into with this type of technology. So your test and what the other companies are looking at as they drill through these zones is always of interest. So, Wes, we're going to keep you through the break, and we're going to talk about an education opportunity that presents itself up in Oliver County with these rigs when we come back. Tell us about, so you're going to have a drilling rig, a full-scale Bakken-type drilling rig up in Oliver County starting when?
The Oliver County one is just after the first of the year.
Okay, and so you've got the other one in, what, Mercer County?
Is in Mercer County, just north of Golden Valley, a couple of miles, and that one will start drilling tomorrow.
So if you're up in that area, you've got an opportunity to go out and take a little peek at a live drilling rig operating a little closer to this area than we've seen in a long time. And how about some of the education opportunities you're providing to the schools and in that area, Wes?
Oh, certainly. We've made contact with Hazen, Beulah, and Center high schools about field trips to the drilling sites to see things in action. We're also offering up in-class presentations on our project, how we go about executing a project, talking about the integration of lignite country with coal country, with CO2 and its use in enhanced oil recovery potential in the western part of the state. Talking to the North Dakota studies groups all the way down to fourth grade about the relationships that we can develop in the future here between those two major pillars of North Dakota economy. So we're really happy that we've gotten good responses from the teachers. The Hazen folks there, the physics class might come out, all four of them, and we'll talk about all the high-tech instrumentation that goes into drilling and logging a hole in North Dakota.
Well, that is a tremendous opportunity to get those schools some real firsthand expertise and look at what their STEM classes are providing in terms of opportunities, and a lot of kids will be inspired by that. So congratulations for providing those opportunities. We hope those schools get out there, and it's something that really people from all over the world would love to see. And as discussed, we've got a group of Fargo entrepreneurs out in the Bakken today, and we're hopefully going to hear from one of them later this morning. But it's a great opportunity. So we're talking about the CarbonSAFE program here, capturing CO2 off the lignite-fired power plants, drilling some test holes to see about storage of that carbon. Wes, this is part of a very much bigger picture you guys at EERC have been working on for a very long time. How does this particular piece fit into that?
The CarbonSAFE project itself is focused on the subsurface storage aspect of it. We have other projects there that are underway, and others that we're hoping to win through our competitive process that will focus more on the capture side of from the power plant. And then altogether, we're hoping that we can integrate all of our programs and how we can best move this material, the CO2, to the western part of the state to turn it into a high value commodity. something that will stimulate additional oil production from our legacy fields, those old Madison and Red River fields from the 60s and 70s and 80s. And then also at the ERC in Grand Forks, we're looking to crack into how we can use CO2 into the Bakken and get those extra percentages of OOIP recovered and boost North Dakota's economy even further.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic project and something that certainly everybody in North Dakota that uses electricity and it's extremely important we continue to have these power plants run and we look at the new technology. So thanks for your time today, Wes, and we will be back
anytime
right after these messages.